everybody, I'm Dr. Carrie Wise, veterinarian, certified life coach, and founder of JoyfulDVM, and today I want to talk about being willing to get it wrong. Right now in the world, we are in unprecedented times. We have a level of chaos with a level of pandemic, and opportunity for change is all around us. I think that we would have agreed a month ago that the world was going to be vastly different a year from now. I think the opportunity for that to be even more different than we ever anticipated is in our hands. We already know that change is coming, and now with the events that have happened and the senseless death of our Black brothers and sisters, now is a time for us to stand up and to say something if this is not what we agree with. And many of us don't consider this to be our fight. We don't recognize that we may be contributing to the problem. And I know that this part of this for sure was me. As I have watched and listened and been very open to considering why I think the things that I think, I've recognized that simply being somebody who would consider themselves not to be racist isn't enough. That being non-racist is safe. For sure, I don't consider myself to be actively a racist person. I believe in the value of all human beings. I believe in the opportunity for everyone. But that, just because I believe that, if I don't then speak out or take action in situations where there's opportunity for me to do so, I'm not anti-racist, and there's a difference. That term anti-racist is not even one that I was aware of, and it makes so much sense, especially for those of us who really believe that we have empowered choices in our lives. Anti-racism means being willing to say, I don't agree with racism in any form, that I'm not going to be passive and allow it to continue if I have an opportunity to influence it, even if it's in the smallest ways. What we forget is that when we take action, there's always a ripple effect. We will take action in different ways. Some of us will use our platforms to have conversations, like I am, and my platform is small. There are people who have much broader platforms than I do who will use their platforms, and we will continue to spread the word and the opportunity. Others of us, it might be something as simple as just extending kindness in situations where we feel uncomfortable just because it's uncertain. And that's what I want to talk about. It's that willingness to feel uncomfortable. Are we willing to feel uncomfortable in order to create the change that we actually believe is necessary? Or are we going to let this pass on by like it has so many times before and go back to the status quo? As I've been listening and learning, and I'm going to be the first to admit, like, I do not understand all the complexities of the racial diversity in the United States and in the world. I do not, and I am willing to learn it. I have asked in our groups and on this page that our colleagues, our veterinary colleagues of color, please let me know how I can help. Please help me to understand what your experience is like in veterinary medicine. That's just one small spot. That's where I have just a little bit of influence. So I want to understand. But it's bigger than that. And as I've been listening to my mentors, other life coaches, master life coaches, people who are in, who are mentors of mine, like on a business perspective. So people who I've learned from, Stu McLaren, for example, who I've learned from as far as how to build some of the technical aspects of what is now Vet Life Academy and things like that, like the technical platforms and things. As I've listened to them, and I've continued to learn, and there's been some key pieces over the last couple of days that I think are really important that I wanted to share. Before I do that, I just want to double check. Can somebody in the comments let me know you can see me, because it just looks black to me, but I think maybe it's out there. I don't know. Somebody would. I'm trying to pull it up on my phone too. It looks like there's. Oh yeah. Okay. So it looks like it's there. It's just not on my phone. Okay. Cool. So you guys can see me. We're good. All right. So back to what I was saying. So here are the key points that I want you to think about that really hit me. Kara Lowenthal, who is a master certified coach, she's also a trained attorney. She's amazing, so you could definitely follow her on Facebook. She did a great Facebook Live yesterday that talked about this, and I was listening to what she had to say. And the thing that really grabbed me that she just put so eloquently is that our thoughts don't have moral value. Our thoughts don't have moral value. And I think this is so critical to understand because, at least for me, and maybe for you guys, at least for me, I have the ability very easily to be ashamed of thoughts that come into my mind. I forget that I'm just a human with a human brain, that the sentences that my mind offers me were not intentionally created. I have the ability to do that, for sure. But when the thoughts just come, what happens is that many of us then feel guilt and shame because we recognize they're not useful thoughts. We recognize they're not thoughts we're proud of. And we actually take those thoughts and we use them as a reason to feel shame and guilt over having them at all. We think that they make us bad humans because we had these thoughts that we're not proud of. And we miss that our thoughts don't have any moral value at all. They're just sentences in our minds. It's what we do with them or not do with them that matters. And so what I think happens to a lot of us is that we have these thoughts that come up that we're not proud of, and those thoughts create guilt and shame. We feel guilt and shame for having had the thoughts, which leads us to then believe that we aren't good enough or worthy enough to be the person who steps up and says something because we don't have minds that always have the best thoughts go through them. We miss that we're just humans with human brains and the thoughts are going to happen. And what we miss more than that is that we have the ability to adjust our thought patterns if we intentionally work to do it. If we stay just allowing the thoughts to come, and they will come. We can't stop them from coming. Let me just be clear. We can't stop some of the thoughts from coming, but we don't have to make them mean anything. If we allow them to continue to mean something, if we continue to guilt and shame ourselves over the sentences that bounce around in our heads sometimes, what happens is that we live a very small life. The feelings of guilt and shame will never lead us to take action, ever. And I don't care if we're talking about taking a stand on what we believe about equality, or if we're talking about taking a stand on what we want for our own individual lives in the veterinary profession. It's all the same. I think that's what's so amazing as I've really considered this, is that the things that I value and the reason that I created Vet Life Academy, ultimately, yes, like my vision is to decrease anxiety, depression, and suicide in the veterinary profession. I want to stop that belief that it's just an inevitable consequence of this profession. For sure, that is my vision, is that we change that belief. But how do we do that? We ultimately do that by learning to become empowered. That's what this is all about. That's what Vet Life Academy is all about, and that's not different than what's happening in the world right now. The things that we learn here are universally applicable, and they are the things that are going to make the difference. It's how we learn to become empowered. Empowerment is an emotion, and when you feel empowered, you're willing to do the things that are scary. If we allow the sentences, the unintentional thoughts that bounce into our minds sometimes, to create self-judgment, to develop fear and anxiety and shame and guilt, those things will keep us from taking any useful action in our life, whether it's on an individual personal goal level or whether it's something that makes a bigger impact on the entire world.